Hi boys and girls, welcome to our first Unit 5 self-paced flip video. It's Activity 2, Arrays All Around Us. Make sure that you have your notebook and that you add Arrays All Around Us to your title page and to your table of contents, as well as the date that you're doing it. Make sure you take notes. Anything I write on the screen I want you to have, and you can add extras if you need. After the video, you're going to do a worksheet, and if you have any questions, write them down in your notebook and I can answer them when you come to class. Before we dive into the math, we're going to take a look at the definition. So take a minute and pause, and I want you to add this definition and picture into your notes. An array is a set of objects arranged in an order, often in rows and columns, and we're going to be looking at arrays that are only in rows and columns. They make counting and calculating easier, and we're going to use it to help us multiply. So you may see arrays all around you. Here's one example: just houses on a street are built in an array. And if you look at this array, you'll notice that its dimensions, or the measurements of it, are 2 by 4, or they are 4 by 2. Either way works. The next thing I want you to do is add this vocabulary word into your notebook. It is dimension, and we talked about it on the last section, but it is just how many are in the rows or columns. Now, usually you would hear the definition as a type of measurement. And the measurement we're using is how many are in the rows and columns. So add that to your notebook. So when you see an array, let's just draw some hearts. It will have two sets of dimensions, because in multiplication you can flip the numbers and it still equals the same thing. So you could say, and see the 2 right here is how many are in the columns. So it would be 2 by, and then you would look at this top row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our dimensions would be 2 by 5, or we're going to switch those two numbers around and make them 5 by 2. Either way, our answer and our total number of hearts would be 10 hearts. It doesn't matter how we multiply those two numbers, the answer will always be the same. Now we're going to get into some examples of arrays. So this is our first example. Pause the video and draw this into your notebook. Please number your examples as well to keep it, or make it easier to keep track of. The first thing that we're going to do is figure out our total. So we're going to look again, remember, at our rows and our columns to tell us what our dimensions are. So when I look at that row, I see, and I'll actually start with the columns. 1, 2, 3 down, so it'll be 3 by, and then I will count my row, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 3 by 6, and remember that our dimensions can also be the opposite. It doesn't change. 6 by 3, and you can write that using the multiplication sign, or you can even write that using the word by. They both mean the same thing. After we figure out our dimensions, we're going to figure out the total. So if you already know your math facts, then you'll know that 6 times 3 equals 18, and you may be able to figure it out just like that. However, if you don't know your math facts, this is where you use the array to help you, and then you count your shapes. You can count by groups of 6, so 6, 12, 18. You can count by groups of 3, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. But obviously it'd be easier to count by the groups of 6 because they're bigger groups and it'll take you less time. We're not going to do this strategy when we're doing higher numbers in multiplication, but learning your math facts and getting used to them, this strategy might be very helpful. On your worksheet, you're also going to have to do another section. So we have our total, we have our dimensions, the measurements of our array, but then it's going to have you draw what the array would look like. And there's two ways you can do it because there's two types of dimensions right here, 3 by 6 or 6 by 3. So the first way I'm going to draw it kind of looks like the picture. I'm going to divide that in half. And actually, I shouldn't have divided it in half. I should have divided it into thirds, but I'm going to work with it. And then I'm going to cut that into the 6 pieces. Not perfect, but it still shows my 3 by 6. Then I'm going to make the other array that is represented. And you kind of just turn it on its head. I'm going to cut it in thirds this time. And then 3, 4. My 5 lines cuts it into the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. And my dimensions, I'm going to write those on the side as well. I'll do it in a different color so you can see it maybe. 6 by 3. So if you tell, all of these things are equal to 18. The stars array, which is just using pictures, a regular array, which looks like a window. We have our dimensions, and then our total. Everything adds up to 18. And not really adds up, it multiplies up to 18. Alright, we are now on number 2, and you'll see it's an example of definitely an array all around us because it's cupcakes. They look super yummy. Maybe if you're good, your mom will make you cupcakes, or make us cupcakes. That would be better. Alright, so let's first start with our dimensions. So we're going to look at our columns. We see that there's 4. If we look at our rows, we see that there is 6. So our dimensions are going to be 4 by 6. And remember, we can use the word. Or it's going to be 6 by 4. And you would need to space that out a little bit more, a little sloppy. Make sure you're keeping up with these notes. If you can't write them as fast as I do, pause the video. Alright, after we've done our dimensions, the next thing we're going to do is find our total. So again, if you know your math facts, then you know 6 times 4. If you don't, then you're going to count or use the rows to help you. Count by 6s or count by 4s. But again, it's easier to count by the bigger number because you don't have to have as many groups. Alright, so our total for 6 times 4, or 4 by 6, equals 24 cupcakes. Yummy. Alright, after we do our total and our dimensions, then we're going to draw our arrays. Remember, you're just going to make it kind of look like a window. I'm going to split my rectangle into 4 boxes. Alright, so we have it split into 4, and then I'm going to do my 6. And I'll label it with my dimensions, 4 by 6. And then I'm going to kind of turn it the other way. And then I'm going to cut it in half and cut that half into thirds. So I get 6, and then I should have cut it in half first, but I didn't, so it looks kind of sloppy. Now I have my 4. So on this one I have 6 rows by 4 columns. So that would be how you're going to continue on in your worksheet. If you are ready, you can stop the video now and start your worksheet. If not, then we're going to do a couple more examples together. Alright, here's our next example. It's a little easier. We're going to just change it up. You've probably seen these in your grocery store and probably in your house too. We're going to start first with our dimensions. So remember, looking at the columns and the rows. I'm going to start first with my columns. So I have 2 by 3 and 3 by 2. Okay, those are our dimensions. Now I have to do my total. You probably know this math fact. 2 times 3 equals 6, or 3 times 2 equals 6. So our total equals 6. If not, remember to count the groups, 3, 6, or 2, 4, 6. Again, counting by threes is easier because it's a bigger number. And then we are going to draw our arrays. This one will be easy. Cut it in half, cut that into thirds. 2 by 3. Switch it a little the other way, and then I'm going to cut it into threes, and then, oops, too many cuts. Alright, let's try that again. Flip it on its side, cut it in half, cut that into thirds. Not exactly to scale, but it'll work. And then our dimensions are 3 by 2. If you have any questions, remember to write them down in your notebook. If not, you can continue on to lesson or activity number 4 in Unit 5, Part 1. Remember, if you need to, re-watch the video. You can re-watch it as many times as you want and make sure that you have all the notes that are in here. See you soon. Bye.